It's now 25 minutes to 9. Companies who have supported the union will face a day of reckoning if Scotland votes yes to independence on Thursday. That's the warning from the former SNP deputy leader, Jim Sillars. So what does he mean? Some form of revenge? Well, he said BP would need to learn the meaning of nationalisation. He joins us now in Edinburgh. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
What do you mean by this idea of a day of reckoning?
Well, had I written to Mr. Dudley a nice polite letter and said, please, Mr. Dudley, stop distorting the facts and information on Scottish oil resources.
We should explain he's the Group Chief Executive.
Yes, that's right. You wouldn't have me on your programme, so I knew when I used terms like reckoning and nationalisation that I would get exposed both on radio and television, and here I am on your prestigious programme. Mm-hmm. Hopefully, just a second. Hopefully able to say to BP's institutional shareholders and the board of BP, it's time you reined this man in, because he is taking part in Project Fear, organised by the Prime Minister from Downing Street. Now, we want harmonious relations with everyone in the oil industry and in business. But you have to understand that if Mr. Dudley continues to act as an agent of Downing Street, rather than as an objective chief executive, rather than as an objective
people will
chief
need
executive,
to understand what you're talking about. And what we're particularly talking about here is the claim that North Sea oil would be all but spent by 2050.
Yes, well,
now, that was an assessment that came from Sir Ian Wood, and he has been praised by, yes, David Cameron, but also by Alex Salmond as the industry's foremost figure.
Well, what you've actually demonstrated is the gross ignorance in London of the resources, and Mr. Dudley has played to that. Now, the resources...
But my point is Sir Ian Wood's assessment, not Mr. Dudley's.
No, excuse me. This has become the pattern of interviews by BBC on Yes People. There was a disgraceful interview with Alex Salmond the other day. I came on this programme on the basis that I would be listened to.
Please, Mr. Sillars, you will be listened to. I'm just trying to, A, ensure that people understand what we're talking about, and B, ensure that it's fair. From what I understand, the assessment of oil running out was by Sir Ian Wood, not Bob Dudley.
Yes, Dudley has lent himself to that. And Sir Ian Wood has concentrated on the North Sea. The North Sea's got something like 21 to 24 billion barrels left in it, which will be there for the next 40 years. But what I'm trying to tell you is the North Sea is not the only source of oil wealth for Scotland. 75 miles west of Shetland is the Clare Ridge, in which BP is involved, by the way. Okay. And the industry itself describes it as a monster field producing for the next 40 years.
Okay, and so BP...
No, I'm sorry, I haven't finished about the resources.
I don't want you to finish about it. I want you to say what will happen in the event of a yes vote on Thursday, or indeed in the event of a no vote. What will happen to companies like BP or John Lewis or Standard Life who have spoken out on this?
Well, let me deal with Standard Life. On the 28th of February, when the currency issue blew up and Standard Life said there was a problem, I wrote to the chief executive, and because over probably 80% of their business is outside of Scotland, I said I was not accusing him of scaremongering. I understood perfectly that the currency was key to their what they call loadings. And I asked him a simple question. Should there be no currency union of the type proposed by the SNP government, would a separate Scottish currency pegged or aligned to sterling on a one-to-one basis pose a problem for Standard Life? Now, that was a straightforward question capable of an equally straightforward answer. He refused to speculate, although he had speculated earlier when the currency blew up.
Okay.
Now, Standard Life now are at it the same as everybody else who's being orchestrated by Downing Street.
So my question is, what will be irrespective of what's happened to now, what will be the consequences for these companies, do you think?
Well, I think in Standard Life's case, that if we get an independent Scottish Parliament, companies like that, who threaten their workers by moving elsewhere, will be required to give a far longer period of redundancy notice and will be required to give the trade union movement, who organises those workers, proper information. I mean, for example...
So one of the suggestions has been that you'd have 2 years warning of any layoffs, and you're saying that would apply to certain companies, and what, possibly not others?
Oh, I think that could apply to very large companies. The small companies might be a different ballgame. And may I point out that none of the people who have conveyed Standard Life's position at the present time, the propaganda position, have actually asked Standard Life, how much do you think it's going to cost for you to relocate?
Can I ask you,
what are the costs?
Indeed they are. And the BP, the idea of what would happen to BP, they would be nationalised?
No, we don't. I use those terms deliberately to get onto programmes like yours.
But they don't actually, that's not what's going to happen.
Oh, I mean, for us to nationalise BP would be a major problem. You see, one of the problems we have in Scotland...
So it's purely a leverage to get some airtime? But nothing would... The consequences of these companies are far more limited?
Yes, because we don't have the ability to nationalise the North Sea. Anyone with any knowledge in Scotland, we don't have the kind of technical knowledge and financial and contractual knowledge of the North Sea. There's about 570 rigs out there. But I've succeeded in getting onto your prestigious programme.
And aren't you in danger, though, therefore, of just damaging the campaign, that people will just see this, as has been said, that this is the Yes campaign showing their true colours, and they align you to Alex Salmond? When perhaps that's not fair.
No, well, one of the things that amuses me this morning is I've given the Scottish Daily Mail the equivalent of a political orgasm. They now have 2 people to hate, myself as well as Alex Salmond.
Jim Sillars, thank you very much.